5 people. We'll make it an official start at 7:35 p.m. Welcome to the Alternative Energy Committee meeting of January 9th, 2025, our first meeting of the year. This meeting has been posted in accordance with Massachusetts open meeting laws and therefore is a valid meeting. We have a quorum and we are able to do this virtually, again, in accordance with Massachusetts law. So we will begin with our agenda. The first point of action is to review the December meeting minutes. And I would accept any suggestions, edits, or a motion to approve.
There was a strange link to a cryptocurrency website.
Really?
I think is a mistake.
I think that might have been my fault. So what page
You
is that
into
on?
cryptocurrency, Tanya?
It's a big deal because of the energy usage.
Yeah.
Not green.
Oh,
I've got one question here.
Yep.
What is MSDA? Under school roofs, MSDA. MSDA is green oriented. Green energy oriented. I just don't know what the abbreviation stands for.
I don't either. I wrote that, but I didn't know what it meant. Yeah, somebody's green energy oriented. It has to do with school roofs and getting it approved by the town and the school committee and the.
Well, let's do this. If we don't know what it is, let me read the context.
It can be removed. It's not really important.
All right, we'll take away that sentence. All right. Any other? Good. I'm liking these.
That the minutes were excellent.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
I'm really impressed with the minutes.
I like the new format. I think that's a lot clearer. I never bothered to change the format I inherited, but it's much better.
Well, thank you. You make it all worthwhile.
I like that you have the action items in boxes right in with the under the different topics, and then you put them all at the bottom too. So
No excuses.
no excuse for us overlooking our action items.
That is correct.
Actually, I think action items were supposed to be from the prior in the attachment. Come to think of it. I'll have to fix that. It should
Sorry,
be.
what is it?
So usually I put the list of the action items as in the appendix to the minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and they should be from the prior month. For some reason, I put this month's in there because I was trying to do it in a hurry. And that's just to see, as follow up, like where are we on that list from the prior month? Unless
All right.
to put the current month in, I don't know.
Okay, let's accept it as it is, and then for going forward, let's do the cumulative. If you could take care of that in this next set of meeting minutes, Martha. Okay, those are great edits. Thank you. Is there any more, or could we entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from December 12th, 2024?
I move we adopt the accept the minutes.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Debbie, you got it.
Debbie, you've got it. Great. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, let's do a roll call vote where you say your name, and if you approve the meeting minutes, say aye. We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes and a second. No more discussion. Well, why don't we go around the table?
Steve Winter, aye.
Barbara Russell, aye.
Debbie Cook, aye.
Martha and Jimmy, aye.
And Tanya Bodell, aye. Perfect. So the meeting minutes are accepted. And we have everything we need to make them final. We'll keep them as they are with those adjustments. All right. Excellent. On to the next item, the status of the subcommittee meeting minutes. So we have some missing when you go online to the Alternative Energy Committee, or not, yeah, to the Alternative Energy Committee. I will pull it up just so everybody can see it. To the Alternative Energy Committee agenda and meeting minutes, we have some missing blanks for 2024.
That would be me. I think I've been on the educational thing. So
Okay.
I think I've been a little resistant to this, but I will do it.
Debbie, and just make it easy. Just
I'm going to make it very easy.
high level summary, and then
It's going to be very high level. Yeah. All
Okay.
right. I will get my minutes done.
all right. It just we need to look more organized than the other committees. There's one other one, which is a level 3 EV chargers. Julia, are those the meeting minutes that you had done, or was that a
Yes.
different?
Yep, those are the ones I sent you on Monday.
Okay, so how do we go about approving the last set of meeting minutes without calling a meeting to approve the meeting minutes?
So what have you done in the past? Like, have you had subcommittees usually meet consecutively so they approve their own minutes separately? Like, should the subcommittee meet to approve the minutes? Or wait till their next meeting?
I don't know. I mean, our subcommittees come and go, right? So there are examples. I guess, Martha, what did you do for the bylaw subcommittee?
That's what we did. So the next time we met, which was not a meeting that required minutes, I approved them then. I got a vote from whoever was in the meeting, but I think it was only 3 of us. So we didn't trigger the need to post minutes and agendas and everything publicly. That's what we did. We only had one meeting that required all of the stuff. I don't know what you would do if you didn't have subsequent meetings.
So I guess I wonder if you could call the subcommittee meeting during or prior to the start of this meeting. Has that been done before with your group?
I mean, you mean
So
post
I'm
a
not
joint-
clear if the subcommittee is less than a quorum and we don't have it's not a legal meeting, then how do you have voted legal minutes?
So 2 things. One, we have some subcommittees that had quorums. So they obviously have to do the meeting minutes. But 2, I had misunderstood and Julia corrected me. Even if you don't have a quorum, but you're doing official subcommittee business for a committee that's sanctioned by the town, you're required to do meeting minutes. Is that right, Julia?
I believe so, yes.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought we were being so clever.
Could you double check, Julia, for next time, so that we know for certain?
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I looked it up and confirmed what you had said, Julia. So I think that is the case, which means what we might want to do going forward is not have official subcommittees, but I don't know.
Is there a way to satisfy the open meeting law with approval of minutes by email? If Julia initiates an email to everyone on the subcommittee, says, here's the agenda for this email meeting or whatever, to approve minutes, and please reply with your approval, and then you get unanimous approval, and then you just post the whole email chain on the website.
I don't, Julie, can you look up on what can be done for the final meeting?
Yes, I will look into that.
Okay, and then if you could coordinate with the EV charging committee to get those corrected so that, or finalized and approved so that we could post them.
Mhm.
That is great. Okay, and everybody should be reading the open meeting laws, and everybody should be taking their ethics training course if they haven't already. Okay. And just keep in mind the ethics training course is required every 2 years. So some people might have it coming due. All right, that would be great if we could get those finalized. And I think for the educational minutes, we can approve them as part of this committee meeting because it basically was posted as a committee meeting so that
Right.
all of us could attend and ask questions and engage in conversation.
Right.
You can do it. You can do it, Debbie.
I
You
have
know,
so many
maybe
things on- I
Julia.
have too many things on my plate. This is just something I've been resistant to, but I'll
I
Yes.
know. Julia, can you help her? Would you
Sure.
mind working with her?
well, this is embarrassing, but you
No,
know,
no. I think just again,
because I'm resistant. It seems so silly, but I
I
know
think,
it's the law.
and I think it's minimum what we need to do, and it should include a link to the video.
All I have to do is look at it's not going to be hard.
Okay.
I'd be
Okay.
happy to help you, Debbie. I'll email you separately.
Oh, Julia, thank you.
Yeah, Julia, if you could maybe just give her a starting point, a starter, if you would, of the template that we use. Let me know if you need the Word version. I'll send that out to you too as my action item. Well, actually, you have a template from the drafts that I sent out for this
Yes.
meeting. So if you could just fill in who was in attendance, just all the details for each of those meetings, it should be easy to see from the recording. And
Yep.
then a high level summary. This meeting had the following speakers and it addressed the following topics. Boom, 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 boom.
I get it. Yes. Yeah.
And here's a link to the video.
Okay.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, town staff report. Julia.
Yes. So to start, the electric school bus status, operations and lease. Additional details regarding the mechanical status were emailed to you all on December 31st. So that was regarding the mechanical issues that were mentioned at the previous meeting. It included an issue with the heat and the charging. So if you haven't seen that email chain already, check that out and see what was said there. I double checked with Michelle Leary this afternoon if there was any further movement, and she confirmed that there was not. So up to date on the school bus is the email I sent out to you. Is there any questions regarding that?
I have an update from our liaison. Apparently, one of the kids had kicked open the compartment that held like the fire extinguisher or something like that, and they couldn't get it fixed again. So that was one of the mechanical issues that they needed to address. And because of the cold, the range of the bus is significantly impaired, and they didn't know if they could make it all the way to Anderson Bus Company to fix it. And so eventually they picked a warm day when the mileage left was not like 50, and they were able to bring it down. And so that's being fixed. And in addition, the schools have talked to National Grid about the electricity charging, and that under no condition should it be shut down. And if there's a problem with non-payment, National Grid needs to inform us about that first. And NLX has said that they will continue to pay for the electricity. is my understanding.
Okay, thank you for that update.
I'm confused. What's the bill that needs to be paid or hasn't been paid or what?
It was the electricity from National Grid for the bus.
Okay, so, but, what's the name of the company? XL,
You know,
An LX.
LX, they're gonna pay for the electricity anyways, right?
Well, they are on the hook to pay for it under a contract. They just had
Yeah.
not been paying for it.
Oh, okay, but they just haven't set the National Grid yet. All right, I got it.
So it's not clear to me. I mean, I guess their status and whether they're in business or not in business. I know they're getting rid of their chargers, and I'm sure that Tanya, you know that National Grid, Amanda has said she would, that there would be a very good possibility that National Grid would put in a charger for us, a level 3 charger for us. So I don't know at what point we might want to start talking with them or whether that's worth it. But she has told me that that's a very likely possibility.
I think we should take advantage of that regardless. But one of the issues, of course, is where the bus is going to be parked. Right now, we have an arrangement with NLX in theory that contractually, if the buses move, they would move the charger. The buses can charge with level 2 chargers. That's not an issue, is my understanding. So, in a pinch, the bus can still be charged, but obviously the level 3 charger is a superior solution because of the timing, the time frame.
So can I ask you, they can get enough range from a level 2 charger to do their route?
It's a question of time, and the answer is under most conditions, yes. But not apparently under winter conditions. The way we had calculated it out, generally we thought there might be one day out of the year when all the buses are required for half day students and there's no time to charge in between, that a level 2 charger would be sufficient to do an overnight charge for the bus to recover the route. However, in the winter when it's frigid and cold, we know there are problems with the speed of the charging and then also the range of the bus. So most certainly having level 3, I would say, is a necessity in New England for that reason.
that's what we have, right?
Yes.
But NLX is just not paying the bill.
Well, NLX, the charging entity of NLX is leaving America. And so there's all sorts of contractual obligation transfers that need to be done. And in addition, they stop paying for the electricity.
Can I ask one other question? Do you happen to know if in the winter, if they turn the heat on while it's still plugged in? Because I know, Tesla recommends we preheat, so you're right on the charger and you don't use the electricity to heat.
Yeah, so there's a 12 kilowatt draw to heat the battery area. So I don't know how you preheat. But there's basically a 12 kilowatt draw, which is why it's a slower charge in the winter.
Well, the way Tesla does it, if it knows you're going to be charging in half an hour, 15 minutes before you charge, it starts heating the battery while you're driving. Using the current battery. I'm not quite sure how that works. I mean, you're drawing down your battery to heat the battery so that it will charge more rapidly.
Well, actually, I got a message from Tesla that said, in the winter, you should preheat your car before you even go out in it. That's what I'm saying, because it saves a lot of power.
What does it mean to preheat your car? How do you preheat your?
So well, I don't, see, I don't know about the bus, but we can do climate control, remotely. So you can literally get the heat, because there's so much electricity used in heating the actual vehicle, the interior. So you preheat the interior while it's charging, as opposed to doing it away from the charger. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm? So instead of going out and sitting in the car or pulling away and the car's heating up, before I leave the house, I get it.
Well, Debbie, that's because you have your car plugged in at your house.
Right, but I'm saying if it's still,
Yes.
if it's on the charger, the bus is on the charger, it should be the same concept.
Yeah, right. I was thinking when I'm driving, and I'm heading for a Tesla supercharger or something, it starts heating up the battery.
Right, the
Before I get there.
preconditioning, right.
And I always kind of wondered, well, gee, it's drawing down the battery, heat the battery. So is that really saving anything? I'm not quite sure. It enables me to charge more quickly, if that's important.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I think we're talking apples and oranges, maybe,
yeah.
talking about the interior heating for the kids. So,
I see. Okay, thank you, Julia. National Grid MOU. I don't know if any progress has been made. We reported last time that the MOU has been signed by both parties, National Grid and the town, which was a huge victory and a very nice Christmas present. Is there any update or action items with respect to the MOU?
So Barbara and I went, I have connected with Amanda, and so CSCR which is a town-owned building. We met on Tuesday with Tony Parenti. Basically we're working with Jack Buckley with National Grid on CSCR. I also talked with Amanda about the Historical Society buildings, and I did not know that the Lightkeepers was actually a town-owned building, but Glenn, going to work with Glenn Pratt on the historical buildings, which Amanda said would work, and definitely Lightkeepers. So she's away right now, but when she gets back, we'll pursue those 5 buildings. So that's a kind of a big hit. And Tony was saying that Jack just put in a ductless mini split, and we can get credit, towards the BTU credit for kilowatt hours from that towards the municipal side to get the funding. So we can do that and sort of retroactively.
That heat pump is where the lighthouse keepers can.
No, it's at CSCR.
Oh, CSCR. Okay.
Yeah, and they've only got one. They want to put in more. But anyway, Barbara and I went over and, toured the building, and basically, so we've got work underway. I think one of the first things they're going to do is try to swap out all the fluorescent lighting. And so they're going to make a proposal. Innovis is going to do that to the
Is that a private facility or town-owned?
Town-owned.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
The town-owned building. And,
Okay.
yeah.
What about the boathouse next door?
I think that's town-owned too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, I read through this memorandum of understanding for the first time tonight. I'm really impressed. I mean, there's so much good stuff in that. It's amazing. Do we have a formal schedule for, or tentative schedule for how we're going to, achieve and dates and so forth?
No, I think that we should probably form a subcommittee or work on that, because, we have 3 years for sure. It can be extended, as you know, but the more kilowatt hours we save, the more money the town gets. So in municipal buildings. So that's, and then the residential side will get help with grants and things like that, so. But there's a lot of stuff in there and, so we get a lot better, basic, National Grid will give us a lot more, funding, for like swapping out the light fixtures than had we not had an MOU, even as a municipal building. It really has a lot of benefits for us.
I see that the memorandum calls for monthly meetings.
Right, they're scheduled. We
Okay,
have
they
them
are
scheduled.
scheduled.
Yeah, yeah. Julia comes and Barbara comes. So we're all,
Sometimes,
huh? When she's
sometimes.
not traveling away. Hey, Barbara, you owe me a picture.
I was going to show it to the group tonight in
Oh,
bio break. I thought it would be a little an entertainment feature this evening.
oh, I think not. Anyway, so that's all that's happened so far. We tried to, at least get some things underway so she knows that have good faith about working with her.
Good. Would it be helpful, like, to have a matrix or some type of organization for the town's obligations so that we can track, monitor, and help the town achieve what they've committed to in the MOU?
Wait,
The
say
only-
again?
No, Deb, you just tell me. There is no master plan, right, Deb, in terms of identifying every publicly Cohasset-owned building, in descending order of impact and how applicable it would be to the new MOU. But that obviously would be something that would make great sense, right? But it should be a because a lot goes into it, and some people have different expertise than others and knowledge about which buildings, or maybe it would, a matter of sitting down with Jake and some of the others in Cohasset to determine which are the most ripe for to leverage the MOU.
Right. And I do know, having Glenn Pratt involved is really, really, he has the emergency management team. Tanya, he's got his hand on every pulse, and so he knows what's going on with like the town hall renovations, and that's a chance to pick up some more energy savings. And he filled me in on sort of where the town stands. You probably all know too, but it was kind of news to me on kind of where they're going or what they're talking about. So I think he'll be a good part of the team. I think to kind of because he has to know all those buildings. He has to know everything about them, so he can help with Jake and that group too.
Okay, so do we need an MOU subcommittee right now? I know we've got Barbara and Debbie are taking the lead. Do you need more help, or do you have the resources you need at the town to start levering?
Don't you think we should maybe tackle this next month, Barbara, and figure out a little bit more? I mean, this is all so new, getting the MOU. I think we've held off because, we just weren't sure where that was going. And so I think we should, we will have the monthly meetings, and Amanda it's amazing. She gives us the most amazing spreadsheets. They're just amazing. But she can't share them with us, right, Julia? She's got them, she shows them to us, and I suppose we could screenshot them or something, but they're hers, and they're kind of proprietary software or something.
No, just
But
proprietary
is
information.
it our data?
Huh?
What is the
Their
data?
Their data, but
It's their
on our-
data, but it's keeping track of all the different projects, the kilowatt hours saved. They're really, it's amazing. And so I would imagine, and Tanya, if anybody could come to the next meeting, right? Who wanted to?
do we
post
really
it.
want Three or more than two people?
Well, just to see what kind of data she is offering us and kind of what's out there so we can see what do you think, Julia?
I think whoever wants to attend is more than welcome. She does
We
have
have to
good
post it then.
information. Yeah, so
But doesn't it make
Um,
sense for us to, not to interrupt, I'm sorry, Julie, but doesn't it make sense just for Deb and I to sit down with Glenn and then another and kind of create this master list? Does that make sense, Tanya? Tanya just,
I think that'd be helpful. I think it'd be nice if we had a one pager that gave us, that allowed us to understand, what the town should be doing and progress we're making against each of those categories.
okay.
Okay.
Now, would that be something that Julia, you would have a chance to sort of do a synopsis or I don't
So-
know if that's appropriate. I mean, what to ask.
so would that consist of our discussions with
Pardon me?
Amanda and current projects or projects to future projects?
Who was that addressed to? Me?
I guess, like, because you know what the
I was
meetings
was
like.
trying to quiet that.
I guess
the
either you
noisy
or
folk.
Barbara, but like how the meetings are structured, she usually talks about like the town buildings and the status of those buildings, and Jake will have comments if he's in attendance. I don't know how you'd want to structure like a one-page brief of that.
Right. I mean, really, a lot of it
It can
is
be
in
done,
our,
but I just
it's
don't
really
know
in
how
our
you would.
spreadsheets and stuff. That's where, so much of the data is and stuff. So,
Well, to be concrete, I see that National Grid will give us 60 cents a kilowatt hour for every kilowatt hour that we save. So up to a certain limit of, I think, 85 megawatt hours or something. Anyways, it'd be nice to have a report on a regular basis to see how we're progressing toward that goal. Whether we got to push things along a little more hard or whether we can relax and, just coast or what.
well, we've only had one meeting or two?
Well, I'm not saying I'm
So-
looking to the future. I'm not saying.
No, but no, I'm just trying to think too, I mean, as far as familiarity with sort of benchmarks, and I think so now we're really going to start to concentrate on it. Now we have the MOU. We've had one meeting, I think, since that. No, yeah. Yeah, I think we had one meeting since it's been signed. So, but I think my feeling is for the next one, at least for people to sort of who want to, I feel like they should come and just see what the data is that she's giving, where we're starting from. That's what I think. And then people can pull away, but at least you have an understanding of, of sort of what's going on if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, we need to put this, I think we need to put this on the agenda going forward and have a report out. And it'd be nice if there was a structure to the report out. Right now, unless you've read the MOU, and even if you've read the MOU, it's, there's a lot. It'd just be nice to have a very structured way of reporting out. Here's what's required under the MOU. Here's the progress being made under each of these categories. And then that can be reported to the select board as well. And it creates accountability. I think that's the most important part of it. Otherwise, this is an MOU. It's a document that gets taught, filed away and nothing happens.
Hey, we want that money. We want to make stuff happen. So,
Money,
So-
it's pretty impactful in many ways.
so my suggestion, if people don't want to come to the next meeting, is that we have one more meeting and figure out exactly what data we're allowed to have and, a little bit more about how she's presenting it and get a little more of our feet under us. And then we can come up with that idea.
And then maybe some priorities of what we should go after, what the town should go after. Tom Daly is a specialist in buildings and facilities. So he might be helpful to have on the team as well.
Absolutely. Do you think that's a good plan, Barbara?
Yeah, I think it's coalescing as it is sort of new but I totally agree, Tanya. It would be great to have, we need to have a checklist and a master list and correlated to the MOU. So
Well,
it's a little
when you
time.
see her
Little time.
spreadsheet, she does a lot of that on it. So, maybe I'll ask her if I can take screenshots and things like that of it, because she can't hand it over to us, I don't think, but maybe she'll let us take screenshots. And that way we can kind of, see what it is and monitor our progress that way.
I'm
Because
sure spreadsheets are a living document. They probably change daily. So maybe that's why she doesn't want to give us an actual spreadsheet that can be edited. But she should be able to give us a summary report of what the spreadsheet is showing at any given time.
Right.
I don't think there's anything proprietary there.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
We'll definitely find out.
Yeah.
She's definitely user friendly as well. So she would give us what she could.
She would give us what she could, but remember, she wouldn't do that before we
Yeah.
asked. But so we'll see how we can handle it and get the information we want and how we can, and come up with a strategy for going forward that we can
Okay.
make. Okay.
Great. Great. Okay, excellent. Anything else, Julia, on the National Grid MOU?
Nothing further to discuss on the MOU.
Okay, and next on the National Grid vehicle inventory, What-
So,
where are we on that?
yes, so I emailed Lisa Sullivan December 17th for the differences between the Climate Leaders Program and the Green Communities Program. And regarding the national vehicle, I'm sorry, the vehicle inventory. She provided helpful documentation that I can share with you all tomorrow morning via email. And I don't know if she has come on here before and spoke about the separate criteria for the Climate Leaders Program. I'm sure you probably all are aware of that. So it wasn't very specific to the vehicle inventory, but I'm still working on that.
Okay, and I have contacted Corey Evans about the vehicle inventory. Corey is on the Capital Budget Committee. He was not aware of it. He's a great person to be aware of it because he's like a master of automobiles, automobile parts, and things that we can do. So, and he's a great liaison. He used to be our liaison from the select board and really enjoys what we do. So I've sent him that. And I think our next steps will be to continue to communicate with other committees what the inventory looks like and the recommendations with respect to replacing with electric vehicles.
Were we going to
Absolutely.
try to get with the capital budget committee? Wasn't there some
Yes.
talk about
And
that?
Corey's on the capital budget committee, so I wanted to send this to
Oh,
him
okay.
in advance.
Okay, gotcha.
I think that was also one of my action items for outreach.
Yeah, and
All
I'm
right.
supposed to also discuss Greenfield, which I did do some research on it, but I didn't send it to anyone. If you'd like, I can screen share it or I can send it to you.
Sorry, this is Barbara. What?
I just saw an action item that I was supposed to discuss. I did Greenfield and other towns and cities in Massachusetts that have gone EVs for their fleets, their police.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a good time to do that.
It's not in great format yet, but right. So the Greenfield thing was in July. They bought 3 Teslas, and I took some heat for it. And it turns out that they decided that it actually saved them a significant amount of money. The number was, oh yeah, they paid, well, $50,000. They got some pushback and they did some math and said that, you can see on a qualitative basis, you don't need oil change. And then the 300-mile range, they purchased 2 Tesla Model Ys. They paid $50,000 vehicle. Now, actually, for us, it would cost $36,000. And then there was comparisons about the Ford Explorer, which they had. It was cheaper to buy the Ford Explorer, which they had in their fleet. So, and that was at $50,000 because they have to retrofit them. They put in these inversion wheelbases, but even with the wheelbase, the Tesla Model Y was 50 grand, and now it's 30. And then they also did some impact analysis. I have it in here somewhere. Then I did a lot of other police stations. I mean, there's a lot of them.
Are you finding they're cars or trucks or?
Well, there's
working
cars.
vehicles?
The most popular one is the Mustang Mach-E. Yeah, I know it sounds like a muscle car, but it's
Oh, the cops must
no.
love that.
I mean, look who's done it. It's well, Acton, you would expect Acton, Seaside, Acton, Cambridge, Brookline, Topsfield, Wellesley, Wareham, Needham, New Bedford, Attleboro, Northampton, Norwood, Westford, Ipswich. And then I just did a little bit of try to do some math on our fleets. Yeah. And there's some more down here.
So Barbara, what are they saying about their evaluation of the maintenance and fuel cost? Is that so maybe the purchase price was higher than the gas cars they would have otherwise gotten? But what about the savings in maintenance and fuel?
Well, the savings are absolutely, they come right away. But the irony here is that the Teslas that they bought were cheaper than the Ford Explorers with all the bells and whistles that they get on top of these cars. And it was the same for, I think Acton concluded the same thing. And I have more detail. I have some footnotes.
So the bottom line is they're happy, they're glad that they bought these and they're saving
Yeah.
money. Okay,
Absolutely.
that's the important lesson then.
Hey, Barbara, this is great. Thank you.
This is wonderful.
Could you
Wow.
send it to me and I'll stick it in the appendix? Unless you
Yeah,
want to.
can I just tweak it tomorrow and send it to you?
That'd be great. I won't do the minutes right away.
Can you send it to all of us? I think this is
Absolutely. Sure.
a
Can you
lot
put
of
a little
work.
executive
Yeah.
summary at the top there?
What font would you like me to use, Steve? I'm only kidding.
I know, make the good message really pop out, so that people don't have to gloss their eyes over trying to read the details. But, we want to let our town officials know that these other towns have had a great experience with these electric vehicles, or saving them money and
Fantastic.
performing well, and if that's the case.
Wow, a lot of work went in that.
What was the time frame over which all of these replacements were made? Is that over the last
Um,
2 years, 3 years?
Most of them, Doran, let me just go back. So Greenfield was July of 2024. Some of them got in early, like Seaside, Mass. I didn't even know where it was, but obviously it's a coastal town. That was third quarter of 2021. The early ones were
Hmm.
2021, and most of them were 2024. Brookline, and again, most of them Mustang Mach-E's. I actually rented
Yeah.
one when I was out in California this year, and they're muscle cars. I mean, the cops love them.
Well, I think there's also a long history of Ford, equipping police cars, right? I mean, that's
No
why you have all
question.
the Explorers and
The
the,
Lightnings, yeah.
even
Some of the,
well, even the old Mustangs, they used to
well,
have those, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It was Mustangs, and then the Lightning has been popular as well.
mhm.
Was there negativity at all?
Again, the one that was Greenfield took a lot of flack, and then they turned right around, and I have the article, I footnoted it. I'll send it to you as well. And that's when they pushed back and said, they think, hey, this is a luxury item. This is quote unquote, and it's not. It's actually cheaper to buy this vehicle than to buy a Ford Explorer. And it's a little bit more to upfit them because of the wheels and suspension that we're adding. It's going to save Greenfield. I don't know. Sorry, I have to go find it. It's going to save Greenfield to begin with. We're going to save a lot of money. That was
I
that.
think it'd be
But they
interesting to
did
hear from the ones who adopted in 2021 to see how it's going, because that's a few years of operating history. The savings, like you said, Steve, of the no oil changes, et cetera. The maintenance. Those would be the ones that would be interesting to demonstrate.
Well, absolutely. And of course, the prices have come down on EVs consistently
Yeah.
over the last, since that time, since the last 3.5 years.
Yep.
Okay.
Excellent. Great work, Barbara. Great work. All right. Anything else on the National Grid vehicle inventory or EVs? All right. The Green Communities
Do
Program.
we have a strategy for going forward? Or are we a strategy? I mean, we said we're going to go to the capital budget, but is there anything sort of a longer term strategy to get it adopted for climate leaders?
And to get it adopted, the inventory or the
Yeah,
recommendations
yeah,
to the inventory?
A replacement schedule, I think, is what we need.
Yeah, basically, to comply with climate leaders. We need that commitment from the select board that they will, buy EVs before, unless there's some compelling reason they can't.
Yep. So did we do research on the different programs and what the actual requirements are?
I think that's what Julia was just talking about.
That
Right,
Green
Julia?
Communities versus the climate leaders?
Yeah, so I'm still doing research, and I can talk further with Lisa Sullivan.
Okay, so maybe I think once we get that information, we'll have a better target of what we want to try to achieve, and then we can talk about strategy on how to move forward to encourage that. I think right now, the first step is getting capital budget committee in line and knowledgeable about the inventory. And if they do have a vehicle replacement schedule, maybe we can work with them to take a look at that and reconcile it to the inventory to identify which of those vehicles could be replaced with EVs. Okay. Is that helpful, Debbie?
Yes, I think that is very helpful, and I think that's exactly that makes a lot of sense. Yep.
But I think also, again, identifying this, it's not something we've been pounding home, but identifying this to the select board so they know there's a vehicle inventory, distributing it to them in advance of our presentation in February, and identifying, ideally we'd have some good content to provide them with.
And with the knowledge that they have to sign that commitment if they want to get into the Climate Leaders Program.
Yes, and that's why I think we need to wait until Julia comes back with the requirements under the program. I mean, Debbie, do you have your arms around what's required under the Climate Leaders Program?
Well, I just know the 5 segments, that we need, and a couple of them we've already done, which is have a committee like ours. We have to have the statement of a commitment to go net EVs when every time you can. We need the specialized code, the climate action plan, and there were 5 of them. And another one I think we've already done. So anyway.
Well, I think the EV vehicle requirement is very simple. It's simply that all the vehicles that you purchase in the future should be EVs unless there's some compelling reason why an EV will not fit the bill.
Is that what it is specifically?
That's all it is. It's just
it's very simple. One sentence. It just says whenever you buy a vehicle, make it an EV unless there are special requirements that there's no EV that will satisfy.
So it actually is adopt a zero emission vehicle first policy.
Right.
And it doesn't specify that you have to buy every vehicle has to be EV. It just has to be a policy.
Right. Signed by the select board as yeah.
And I don't know if this helps, but Lisa also said that so when creating the municipal decarbonization roadmap, which is adopted by the Board of Selectmen and school superintendent, the vehicle assessment could be used to inform the municipal decarbonization roadmap, as there is usually a page or 2 dedicated to reducing vehicle fleet emissions. A full fleet assessment is not required as part of the roadmap, but it could be summarized in part and included as an appendix. It will certainly be helpful to the town as you move forward.
Okay, I'm going to, just so we have completeness and so we can get a screenshot of this for the meeting minutes, I'm going to share. Except now I can't find the share button. Maybe I'm not going to share. I don't know where my share button went. This is very strange.
Oh.
All right. Do we have a way of posting things? Let me see. Is there... Julia, can you enable, see if you can allow me to screen share?
Sure.
Oh, I got it. Okay. Perfect. So I'm going to pull up. Okay, Martha, if you could take a screenshot of that so we can include it in the appendix, just so it's clear to the readers of our meeting minutes what we're talking about. This is a document about the Climate Leader Communities Program guidance, which is issued by the DOER from last March. And the requirement number 5 pertains to the zero emission vehicle first policy.
Mhm.
And it requires the municipality to purchase only zero emission vehicles for municipal use when they're commercially available and practicable. And in order to show that, to have evidence that we're meeting that criteria, we will need a policy or other mechanism adopted for purchasing only zero emission vehicles, a replacement plan for non-exempt vehicles with zero emission vehicles, and documentation that the municipality and the local school district have adopted that policy. I think this is going to be a heavy lift if it's interpreted as requiring the schools to move to electric school buses before we've had the opportunity to test out the current one and determine whether or not it's practicable.
Got off to a
I
bad
think the
start.
way you would, as far as school buses are concerned, I think you could interpret this as saying that for buses that are intended for just routine routes for that EVs would work, assuming that we'll have that experience, as you say. But that doesn't mean you couldn't reserve one gas EV with a longer range and easier refueling situations in the fleet also. For that purpose, that would be an exception to the EV only rule or EV first rule, because if there's that requirement that for long trips, the schools would be more comfortable with a gas car than a gas bus, then okay. I think that's the way you could interpret it. It doesn't mean that you'd have to convert every single bus to an EV bus.
Yeah, but you know what, Steve? There's parity between EVs and ICE in terms of police cars and other town vehicles. School buses are much more expensive, electric school buses. They're like 3.5x a diesel bus. And I don't think that's, I mean, I think you.
Well, that could be a consideration too. If there's no vehicle, an EV within the reasonable price range, then that would be a reason for, getting an ICE bus instead.
Right.
So I don't think there's any concern there that we're going to be trapped into paying for a EV bus that costs several times what an ICE bus would cost and won't have the range. I think that those are compelling reasons for sticking with ICE as long as those buses are not available.
Oh, but alternatively, I think a really good approach would be, what's the average life in Cohasset of a school bus? How long do they keep a school bus?
Yeah, I think if you did a lifetime analysis, you would find that
Right.
the
But what is it?
electric buses are cheaper.
That's
No,
exactly right. If they
I'm not,
amortize,
the answer is 3 years, Barbara. The town
it?
leases the school buses. They
oh,
don't
so
buy
they
them.
lease it for 3 years, right? So it is a heavy lift. I think it's so much easier with all of the other fleets. I mean, that would be because eventually they'll reach parity. Everyone knows that it's cheaper long-term to make a non-ICE vehicle, an electric vehicle.
Oh, the definition
not-
is, you must purchase only zero emission vehicles for municipal use when such vehicles are commercially available and practicable. So
Yeah, but there's so much wiggle room in that, Martha. That's the problem.
Well,
I think that
Well, there's
Yeah,
enough
are
wiggle
the-
room, and I think that town officials shouldn't be concerned that they'll be locked into a electric bus
Why
if they
make
don't
it so
think it's
easy?
affordable or practical.
Well,
Oh,
there
dear.
are already a number of climate leader towns, and we could actually maybe check in with a couple of them and see what the status that, with them about the buses. So,
That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, to see if they, sort of how they reconciled it.
And I agree,
By the way, the extra cost for an electric vehicle, bus or otherwise, is the battery, of course. And I just was listening to a podcast today where the forecasts are for they figure that at $100 a kilowatt hour for a battery, then they'd be the electric vehicles, anyways, passenger vehicles would be comparable in price to an ICE car. Now Tesla says they're going to come out with a battery at $60 a kilowatt hour, which is way under, which would, totally invert the cost advantage of an ICE versus electric
I
vehicle.
bet if, Steve, it's already, I mean, unless you like compute the operating cost every year, I mean, the operating cost thrusts it way as an advantage for the regular
Yeah.
fleet, right? But it's the school bus. I mean, so to Tanya's point, if we only lease school buses in a 3-year lease, we're going to lose, right? But with the other fleets, we own them, right?
Mhm.
We own all the other fleet.
Yeah, I don't know how you, with a leasing situation, maybe you're right that it doesn't make economic
mean,
sense.
Right.
Well,
I
maybe
think
we
that,
could check into, some of these other towns.
right.
And
And see what,
the
how they do
ones
the
that
bid.
already are climate leaders and how they handle the school
Right.
bus.
I think it would be helpful to get a copy of their policies, see how they defined practicable. I'm sure they put in financial or something that gave them the clear ability to take into account financial considerations.
Right.
I mean, even something as if it's within plus or minus, if it's within 5%, 10%, you move to a electric vehicle, something. There are rules of thumbs that you could put into these definitions to protect the town. But I think there's a path forward. I think we just need to do, as always, more research and make sure that we have all of the questions answered in our minds before we make an informed recommendation to the town. All right, excellent.
Who is
Um,
doing that? Who is going to research town's policies?
Deb and me.
Yay! Thank you.
I don't know. I'm getting out of Dodge on Wednesday and I have, yeah.
I'll recruit a helper if I need one, but I'm to get on this, but I'd love someone, and any of you, but Steve, you seem like you're all over this, so maybe you'd be my good partner on this.
Okay, why don't you give me a phone call when you want to do something about it? I'll see.
Phone call, I like
can
that.
find out.
I don't do that much anymore, but you're on.
Barbara, you can put me on it too. We'll the three
can
of
be,
us. do it.
emeritus, chair
Yeah.
emeritus of that committee. Okay.
Yeah, we'll just, all we need is 3 or 4 towns. It's not, and do.
Yeah, I think maybe our first step, Barbara, would be to contact people in those towns that you already have the information on that have gone for climate leaders and see what they're doing about their vehicles, in particular their buses. Are they all towns that purchase their buses? Are some of them leased, and see what their economics are?
Perfect.
Excellent. All right, Julia, Green Communities Program. What's the status?
So currently, I'm awaiting confirmation from Facilities Director Nick Berardi on both projects, Deer Hill and Osgood, to ensure they've been completed satisfactorily, and staff has been trained. So I'm gonna follow up with him again tomorrow. I talked to him last week. He said that there was a delay on the contractor side regarding the projects, not on the side of Innovis. So I'm gonna contact him tomorrow and get the status, and then we'll get those closed out and those project narratives submitted to Green Communities prior to February 3rd. That's the deadline. And then the next round for the Green Communities, March 2025. Nick in Facilities let me know that the 2 projects they're going to go forward with are the destratification fans for the DPW garage and Osgood School cafeteria, as well as the HVAC control system for the Paul Pratt Library.
All right. And is there any risk of not meeting that February 3rd deadline?
I believe, I don't think we will miss it. I think that Nick seemed that the timeline was going to be ending on that this week. Like they were going to have that fixed
What are
on the
they
side
doing?
of the contractor.
What are they doing there at Paul Pratt at the library?
An HVAC control system.
Oh, great. Thank
And then I'm also been in contact with Lisa, so I'm trying to apply enough reasonable pressure so that we can get this closed out as soon as possible.
So I would assume that these projects that are funded by the green communities will lower our kilowatt hours in these municipal buildings, which National Grid will give us a credit for. So I'm just wondering, because that's just occurred to me. I mean, these are all, energy saving projects. So kind of cool.
Yeah, I think, Debbie, to your point, I haven't been in the community solutions meetings with Jake enough to see the dynamic. I think facilities has had a lot going on, so hopefully at the next meeting, they can have a representative at the meeting and we can talk about that and the energy savings.
Okay.
But that is the update for green communities. Are there any other questions?
This is great. All right, good work. Let us know if you need any help, just again, to make sure we continue to be in good standing with Green Communities program. Okay, planning for 2025. Last meeting, we discussed our priorities for 2025. It was very much focused on the Climate Leaders Program. And we will address that again. And we'll continue to have ongoing updates on that every meeting. Because I think we are moving, we're going to try to keep pushing this forward with the select board and get them to support at least some of the items required for the green community, the Climate Leaders Program. But in the meantime, there were some other items that seemed to be some loose ends that we could tie up on this first meeting of the year with respect to 2025. And the first is a police department building liaison. We talked about the fact that the new police department building is underway and that we should discuss having a liaison. Did we get any additional information, Julia, on who's in charge of that and how we could insert ourselves?
So Michelle Leary is spearheading the project task force, but I don't have further information. She didn't provide further information on that.
Okay, what's a project task force?
I'm sorry, what is it?
What's the project task force?
I guess just the retrofitting and renovation of the police station, or the underway for the police station.
Okay, do we know who's on that task force?
I do not.
Could we get a position on that task force?
I can look into it further, yes.
Okay, if you could do that by the next meeting so that we could then vote on whether or not we could provide an official liaison to that. In the meantime, Julia, this is sort of on you to be that liaison, and you're doing so much. I think if we could identify somebody in our committee who could be that liaison and play that role, it could free up your time for some other stuff.
Absolutely. I will double check on that again.
Okay, great. Earth Day activities. So Earth Day, end of April, we have played a role. Is there anything special we would like to do this year, and I'll give you some examples of what we've done in the past. In the past, we have participated in the town's Earth Day cleanup activities by having one or more electric vehicles there highlighted for people, identifying our committee and having boards explaining what we're doing. When we were trying to market the community aggregation program, we had information on that. We've also used Earth Day or Earth Day week to do a green ribbon cutting ceremony for electric vehicle chargers that we had installed or had helped to get installed. So we've used Earth Day to highlight our activities. Does anybody know what the status is of the town's Earth Day initiatives, if there's anything that's going on and how we might be able to participate? And regardless, is there anything else we'd want to highlight as part of Earth Day? One last thing, and this is going to be addressed, maybe not. We also had done 4 articles or 5 articles one year for Stroll magazine, talking about different things that we were doing. And it was published as part of the April issue, and we appeared on the front page. So with that background, does anybody know what's happening for Earth Day?
So I don't know. I know that Marissa Manley, you probably have seen, they're having a sustainability coffee at the library at 2:30, I think, on Sunday. And Marissa Manley's on the Open Space Committee, which has done, things with, organized the cleanups and different things like that before. I think this is actually a broader group than, than open space. It's she calls it the South Shore Sustainability. But anyway, so I'm planning to go to that, and I don't know, but Barbara, is this the time to talk about some of our EV ideas? Because Barbara and I were talking about maybe having like an EV parade through town, and then having, I don't know, rallying maybe over on at a parking lot and allowing people to come over and ask questions of the owners, and then maybe even do like a roundtable discussion as part of the educational program with EV owners. These are just some brainstorming things we talked about, right, Barbara?
Yeah, I think we also, Tony, we talked about it with you as well, I guess last year. There's no question. I think that there's a lot of people here that have EVs now. And if we each among this group, if we can get our pals that have EVs to do a parade, I think it would be big fun, and it would be good PR. And to your point, educate people. Every month we get a report from Tesla that shows us how much, how many kilowatt hours we burn to charge the car, but how much we saved in based on the kind of gas that car would require at that level of performance, how much we would save, right? And then also, the thing that we never really talk about is how much carbon emission did we save, right? So, if we had handy just a little bit of a cheat sheet to inform residents that there's a lot of cost saves in buying a car, especially now. I know Tesla may not be popular with everybody, but there's EVs all over.
It'd be great if
Right?
some Tesla truck.
Yeah, well, those are scary. The
Ugh.
Yeah.
But a parade would that would be really fun. We could have banners on it for AEC or whatever, and we could, have people decorate them, and and then like come into town hall parking lot or somewhere and form up, and then people could come and talk to us. We could have
We'll
maybe
wear our leather jackets, Deb, you and me.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's just a thought.
but 9 of us. I bet that we each have, we know 4 people that have an EV in town, right? I mean, therein is a parade.
Well, we could have the bus lead the parade.
That's even a better
That is
idea.
so much fun.
As long
We
as
could
can
have
charge
the
it.
town
We
cars
could have
and
the
the parade.
Rusty Skippers on the bus playing music. We could have our
Oh
own
my God,
band.
how fun! How fun.
I know some Rusty Skippers. Oh,
That
that would
would
be a big
be-
brass band, but bringing the, that could be just hysterical. I
Yeah.
mean,
No, yeah, and I think that you, Martha, we were going to talk about the stroll. I mean, our conversations with Melissa. You had lunch with Melissa 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so she's on board with us doing, a few articles. So, for March, we've got to get one done by the end of January. And, but Earth Day would be April, right? Do we want to get it in the March issue? Do
It has to be by the end of February, actually.
we want to get it in by the end of February? We want to get an article in February. We're too late for now. We got to make the March issue for April Earth Day. Anyway, we have to get it done by the end of the month. The question is, I thought the idea was to do a series of articles, addressing each one of the components of the Climate Leaders Program. Are we not doing that? What do we want to write about? What's the topic? I also
Well, I have a-
researched the Anchor to see if, and they're interested in something.
Well, the last conversation that we had, I think, in our meetings was, I thought that we could do an article, Tanya, we talked about kind of summarizing, what do Cohasset residents think about climate change and how well prepared Cohasset is. And we were going to summarize the survey and give certain points in it, and then have a narrative built around it, in an attractive, compelling way. And that might be perfect for the March issue, right? And then have some, I say PR pieces, but I mean, climate leaders, I don't know what people know about what climate leaders are. Certainly that would be integrated into an article, but why Earth Day is so important to Cohasset, right? What Cohasset is doing as good citizens of the world concerned about climate change. So it's our opportunity within the boundaries that I know we have to stay within without advocating, but I think the summary is a great way to start.
That's great. That's actually really good. Are we not going to try to do a series of articles addressing each one of the things that are going to have to be approved at town meeting? Assuming that we go for climate leaders.
Well, I think that's the question, which is what, I think we have the opportunity to write an article whenever we want, right? On whatever we want, assuming it's going to be useful for the town and something useful to put into Stroll. I think they're always looking for content subject to their space limitations. So when we talk about the warrant articles to sponsor for town meeting next, I think let's talk about what we are sponsoring, if we are sponsoring, and then how that needs to start now. And that type of communication and marketing should start now. So I think we're still on Earth Day activities, but it sounds like Earth Day activities, a EV parade. I love the idea. It sounds, we'll take a vote on whether the committee thinks that should be something that we should champion and organize. And then we would go to the town manager to make sure that the town staff is okay with that. We'd have to go to the police department, find out what needs to be done to do that. And we'd have to go to the select board and make sure the select board is on board with that. And we could present that as part of our February presentation to the select board. The other Earth Day activity I've heard is having these 5 articles in Stroll magazine. And we can think about what we want to focus on for that Earth Day edition, if it is an Earth Day edition, but most certainly it will have information on that. And then we can talk about what outside of those articles, what other articles we might want to have just to create a steady drumbeat of information about what we're doing, what the town can do, and why. Is there anything else on Earth Day activities that we would like to do?
Just a question, when is Earth Day?
I just saw it. It's April 20. Oh, last year it was the 27th. I don't know what it is this year.
Is there any coordinated town effort to do something?
26th, the 26th.
26th of April?
Yeah. 22nd. Whoa, that's so weird. Tuesday, the 22nd. It says on Google.
Well, that's the
Tuesday.
official day.
Yeah, but I don't know
It's
when we,
always the 22nd. It's always,
right, but
April
would it be the Saturday before, the Saturday after? When we would celebrate it?
what day is it? Of the week?
It
probably
falls
the
on 22nd.
It's probably the closest day to the 22nd would probably be, right? So if it's like a Tuesday, it's probably the Saturday before. I don't know what day of the week it is.
Well, the 20th is Easter. That's Sunday.
Oh, that won't work.
So I don't, yeah.
Odd, yeah.
Have an electric Easter parade. I
robot
wonder if they've got something in the school calendar,
Yeah,
public school calendar.
that's a good point.
Well, who normally
that may-
organizes the town effort? It's normally the trash cleanup day.
Right, and that was the open space committee. Has been doing that. But I don't know if that's, yeah, I don't know if they're gonna do that this year.
Yeah, the school will know. Just ask them.
The school will know?
Well, don't the students do stuff for it?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, but it's normally a Cohasset family event where they show up, grab their trash bags and go clean up.
I'm not really, actually, did Ted take it over at the recreation department? I'm thinking he might have. Last year.
You know what, Deb, I think it looks like if April 22nd was Tuesday this year, last year, April 22nd is a Monday, and it was celebrated on Saturday in Cohasset, the 27th. So logic would prevail, especially since Easter is the weekend before, that it's most likely the 20,
Yes.
the 20, right?
Easter's a whole different thing, yes.
It would be April 26th, that's Saturday. Most likely. I don't know.
If
but-
there's any town event or centrally organized event, I assume we want to be involved with that too.
Correct.
Okay, so that's 3 things for Earth Day that we'd like to do. I think that's enough, but is there anything else that this brilliant committee has ideas on? Okay, well, let's plan on that. I'll put that on a slide for the select board. And make sure that we get their buy-in, or hope that we get their buy-in, and especially with the parade. I'm happy to take the lead, but I'd love a co-leader on the electric vehicle parade, unless the Brain Trust, who came up with that idea, would like to take the lead.
Well, Deb and I said that we would bring our vehicles, but
Okay, you can participate. How about that? You can be the first vehicles behind the bus.
And if you want the brass band, the Rusty Skippers, if that sounds like fun, I can check into that for you.
Okay, Can you check into that as an action item, Debbie?
Yep, yep, I think that would be hysterical.
All right. And then do I
Okay.
have a co-captain on this? All right. Why don't I work directly with Julia? And if it requires significantly more work, I will tap either Chris or Doran or
I think Barbara
Uh,
raised her hand.
No, I said that Deb and I'm not volunteering for Deb because I already did that and I think I got a dirty look.
No.
I think it would make sense that we'll be involved. How about
Yes.
that?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the main thing, and I think we can just put out a call for EV owners, and just get a commitment once we have a route and a plan, and it'd be
Yeah,
fun.
I mean, look, I think it's
Decorate if they
fun.
want, and
And I
make it
think
really fun.
EV owners that want to participate, and it might even include electric, at that point, if the weather's behaving, it might even include electric golf carts,
Mm,
right? We should try to make the route so that electric golf carts can participate as well.
That'd be a stitch. That would be fun. Yeah.
And then I think the key thing is marketing. So I might pick your brain, Debbie, on ideas for marketing. But I think that the key thing is getting the word out, and people who have their electric vehicles want to share them.
Would we want to, as part of this, organize an electric vehicle car show for a thing like, various towns have had those in the past?
Yeah, I think, Steve, the thought would be at the end of the parade, we have a starting point and then we roll it out. And wherever we end at the end of the parade, all the electric vehicles that want to hang out are in a certain location. Maybe it's the school parking lot. Maybe it's the town parking, which you can't depend on. Maybe it's by the rec center or town hall. But, we'll need a permit, I think, if it's going to be organized. And we'll have to plan, maybe it's at the beach, but we'll figure out where it can be, and we'll make sure that we know in advance so that we can market it, not just for the EV owners, but people who are interested in learning more about the EVs or coming in looking at the EVs.
Would we want to invite EV dealers to participate and then be able to talk to prospects at the end?
We most certainly can ask any connections that we have, whether they want to be involved or even if they want to sponsor the EV parade. I think I think this is what a committee organizing this would want to think through. I think it is definitely an option. I'm not sure they necessarily would want to, but I don't know. They might.
So I know we don't have permission for it yet, but could I toss it out at the sustainability tea, I think with Marissa?
Yes, please.
And just sort of say, it's not been, we don't have permission yet, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we can sort of send feelers out, talk about it a little. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, look, I think as we all know, we've gotten very good about learning how to socialize ideas in advance, right? Just so that nobody's surprised, nobody's scared. They've gotten the rumors going that this might be happening, and then we just keep moving it forward in a slow and gradual way and make it happen. So I think phrasing it exactly like you described, Debbie, is the right way to do it. It hasn't been approved, but what I would like to do is see if this committee is behind it. So the committee has voted unanimously, if we do, to basically champion an electric vehicle parade as part of Earth Day. Do you have any thoughts? All right. So if that's the case, I think the articles we've already agreed that we want to move forward with that. We'll talk about that next. I think let's take 3 votes to be official about it. And again, we have to do roll call votes. The first would be, does this committee want to be the champion of an electric vehicle parade in honor of Earth Day? If so, I'd entertain a motion
I'll
that
move
this
that.
committee champion electric vehicle parade for Earth Day. Is that moved, Chris Odleifson?
Yeah.
So moved. Who's the second?
Second? I second.
Okay,
it.
Barbara did a second. All right, any discussion? All right, let's do a roll call vote.
Chris Alves and I.
Barbara Russell, I.
Martha Jimmy, I.
Debbie,
Cornhole, aye.
Debbie Cook, aye.
Steve Winter, aye.
Tanya Bodell, aye. All right. So Debbie, you can say our committee voted unanimously to champion and sponsor an electric vehicle parade. We haven't received permission yet from the select board or the town to do that, but we're moving forward to try to implement that. What do you think? Would you guys be interested? Can we make it part of the sustainability day effort? Maybe we can park the vehicles in the lot.
Okay, I'll bring it up because I'm sure there are some takers there too, who would want to even be in it. So
Perfect. And it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to Cohasset, but I like the idea of having a lot of Cohasset electric vehicles doing a parade, just like we've had the antique cars have had parades in the past. And actually, I'll talk to, on my action item, I'll talk to Woody Chittick about how they organize that, what's required. And I'll also talk to our liaison to the school committee about whether or not the school would be interested in having the bus, the electric bus, be at the front of the parade with perhaps the Rusty Skippers playing. Or
Yeah.
the school band playing.
yeah, maybe that's even more appropriate. Whatever floats people's boat, but
Okay,
They can play
Great.
together.
maybe they can play together.
they'd have to
Okay.
sit on each other's laps. There's 40 in the Rusty Skippers.
That's a
Wow.
big band.
Yeah.
Maybe the Rusty Skippers can play at the end where we have all the electric vehicles.
Well, that's a thought too. That's a
Yeah.
thought too. They could be set up there. So there's people will walk over to hear them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's start to socialize and get feedback and identify any roadblocks before we exert too much effort. But I think this is a fantastic, it could become a fantastic tradition until it seems silly to have an electric vehicle parade because that's all that there is. Okay, next is on the articles. Let's do a roll call vote. Do I have a motion to have this committee work with Stroll to write a series of articles for the April edition as well as ongoing editions, publicizing our work and creating education on electrification? Do I have a motion? Thank you, Debbie.
Yes,
So
I'll
moved.
move to do that. I will move.
Okay, why don't
that.
you second, Barbara?
Okay.
So Debbie made the motion,
Debbie
Barbara,
should,
you can
yeah.
second. All right, any discussion? All right, roll call vote.
Cornhole, aye.
Steve
Barbara
Winter,
Russell,
aye.
I.
Chris Alves and I.
Debbie Cook, aye.
Tanya Bodell, aye. Martha, did you say aye? All right, and it passes unanimously. Thank you. And then the last is we don't quite know, and I think Debbie's going to find out for us. But to the extent the town is doing or sponsoring an Earth Day activity, does this committee want to be involved and create a presence? If so, I would accept a motion to have this committee play a role in whatever the town events are related to Earth Day.
Probably the easiest thing is to talk to Ted Carroll. I think I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Okay, so are we not ready to make a vote, or do we want to find out what they're doing first?
Well, I don't know. If we wait a whole nother month. Why don't we vote the concept?
Okay. To the extent something is happening, we would like to be involved. So I'd entertain a motion that somebody can say so moved at the end of this sentence. I'd entertain a motion that this committee be involved with whatever Earth Day activities the town is sponsoring.
Approved.
Thank you, Martha. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dorn. Any discussion? All right, roll call vote.
Chris Salvation, I.
Steve
Debbie
Winter,
Cook,
aye.
aye. Whoops. Debbie Cook, aye.
Barbara Russell, I.
Cornhole eye.
Tanya Bodell, aye. All right, perfect. Wow, we've got some fun Earth Day activities planning out. So Julia, can you, as part of our socialization, can you just talk to Michelle and Chris Senior? This is an action item, Martha. It's a very important action item for Julia, sooner rather than later. And you can send an email back to us on what you found out. Talk to Michelle and Chris about whether or not they see any issue with an EV parade.
Will do.
Okay. And also if you can find out what's required to do that. Do we need a permit? Can we somehow block off a big parking lot that the town owns for this? Which parking lot would they recommend?
Okay.
Okay. That'd be helpful. Perfect. Okay. Next is warrant articles that we want to sponsor for the town meeting in May or June, whenever it's scheduled. That may seem like a long way away. It's not. So of the things that we want to move forward, are there any warrant articles that this committee wants to sponsor to include in the spring town meeting? And if I would consider this as a, let's prioritize the 5 items that are required for the Climate Leaders Program. And in February, when we present to the select board, identify for them which of those 5 we would like to make progress on. Or do we want
Just
to wait?
a question here. I know that we need a warrant article for the specialized stretch code. Do we need one for the climate action plan and any of the other requirements?
So Julia, it'd be good if you knew for certain which of those requirements for climate leaders we need a vote at town meeting on. I think from a general hygiene perspective, it's good to get town backing on some of these initiatives. Most certainly the specialized stretch code does require town meeting vote. I think a climate action plan does require a town meeting vote because of the funding issue, as well as generally it's associated with an objective to achieve net zero by some time. But if you don't have the net zero goals established as part of a town meeting, do you need the town meeting approval to move forward with a climate action plan? I don't know if you have to, but I know Hingham did receive that.
I would think even if it's not formally required, I suspect it would be a good idea just to galvanize public support.
So,
Agreed.
so I have it open right now, right? So of the different options that came, actually, I think it was, this is right from their reports, right? So the first one is we've got be a green community in good standing. The second was have a local body, a sustainability committee. We've got that one. The commit to eliminate on-site fossil fuel use by 2050, municipal buildings and operations. So that would require, I think, the select board signing off on a statement on that. The create a municipal decarbonization roadmap, which is, I think, different than a climate action plan. This, it sounds like it's a little, it's not as, prescriptive, I think. But, anyway, that probably does need the select board. The zero emission vehicle first policy needs a select board, and the specialized opt-in building code needs a select board permit.
That needs, that needs a town meeting vote.
Yeah, so, and actually, doesn't it make sense to talk to the select board in February about the Climate Leaders Program? And I thought we were going to get their buy-in there
Right.
and find out how they wanted us to approach it, in what sequence and at what town meeting, and whether they want us to do it all or they want it. I thought that was our plan. Is that what we're doing?
That is. So when we present to the select board, we are going to try to get them to back us on moving forward, but they're going to look to us to give recommendations on what we should pursue and timing wise when, if for no other reason than to respond. Right? If we put it on them and say, what would you like us to pursue first? They're going to say, we'll get back to you. If we say we think that of the 4 things that it'd be helpful to go to town meeting on, a commitment to eliminate on-site fossil fuel use by 2050, consistent with the state goal. So this shouldn't be considered a stretch. A municipal
Does that need town
decarbonization.
meeting vote?
It can be.
Huh?
It can be. I mean, I think
Or
it
can
has to
just
be.
a select board? I think that could just be select board, right? The fossil fuel use. That's
That's,
municipal buildings. That's
I don't think so. I don't think the select board would make a position on that without town approval.
okay. Well, I think we could ask, right? About whether they can do it or whether we need to go. I mean, I feel like we should tackle all of these as much as possible simultaneously.
Do you
Otherwise,
think any one of these have to be presented at the spring town meeting?
Yes.
Which ones?
Did you once say something, Tanya, about that we don't really have to ask permission for the climate action plan? Because you had somehow got a sub rosa soft yes in the past? Or was it in the purview of the AEC to pursue it?
Well, we can pursue it all we want, but we don't have any funding. So if we want to pursue it, we have not gotten a blessing. Remember, municipal decarbonization roadmap assumes a net zero goal. So I guess we could move forward with identifying how to decarbonize without knowing what the endpoint is, without identifying an endpoint. But normally the commitment to eliminate on-site fossil fuel use by 2050 or going net zero as a community.
I'm thinking about the presentation that Hingham made, and they combine the specialized stretch code with the climate action plan approval at town meeting in one meeting. It seems like it would be a heavy lift to try to do all 5 elements at one. We don't need all 5 to do everything in the spring town meeting, and if we wanted to break it up so that we could market and promote, we might want to take the easy, the low-hanging fruit first. And the specialized stretch code seems pretty non-controversial.
oh wow, no. I think that could be very controversial in Cohasset.
I mean, we're already, it's just one more piece of the puzzle.
Well, I wasn't saying that it should all be accomplished at the same time, but we should be moving. We shouldn't do one and then the next and then the next, because that will bring us into 2030 or something. I'm just
Exactly.
saying that, you know, and for example, the specialized building code is going to require a lot of marketing. I mean, that's the thing they said at the Green Communities meeting I went to is, you know, you got to get these people to understand things for maybe almost even a year, you know, before you present it. So it would never go in spring because we would have way too much work that has to be done to get the developers. I mean, all these communities that did it successfully, they met with developers, they got them on the team, they built teams, and you know, a lot of advanced work went in because there are a lot of red flags for people. They think it's gonna, you know, it's gonna add a lot of cost to their to any projects they have. I will say one thing, I learned at Green Communities. I sent you the information from the seminars that I went to, and they have eased up on some of the requirements that they used to have that seemed like they were pretty onerous. So they have eased up on, you know, like you would have to do your whole house as in under the specialized opt-in code if under the old way if you only did a part of it, but they've made a much bigger addition would trigger that you have to do the whole house. So they're trying to make it a little more friendly. So it may be an easier lift now than it was even a couple of months ago. But anyway, yeah. So I think I think my feeling is that we go to the select board and, you know, and have the 5 things and then say each one of them has sort of a different route to approval. And can we work on these and follow the different routes to approval? Some of them you just sign off yourself. Some of them we have to get funding for and do research. Some of them require a town meeting vote. And, you know, that's kind of how I think it should be handled.
Okay, so of the requirements for Climate Leaders Program, which do we think have to be approved or should be approved or go to town meeting? Specialized stretch code for sure.
Climate action.
The policy, do we think the policy to do EVs first, electric vehicles first?
I don't think so. That's
Oh, that's a
No, I
municipal
don't think so.
decision. I don't think the you know, the Cohasset residents, voters need to be involved in that.
I
Unless
think
the
that's
select board
capital
wants them to.
budget and, you know, and when they go to ask for funding for the particular vehicles, that's when the people weigh in. But
Yeah, well, that's just same way with any kind of budgetary item. You know, it'd just be one list among many things. You know, $35,000 for a new vehicle, which
Yeah,
happens to
that's
be an
great.
electric vehicle. No, I don't see how we wouldn't need a town meeting vote to give permission to the town to purchase electric vehicles as distinct from ICE vehicles.
Well, that's not the vote. That's not the requirement either. The requirement is an electric vehicle first policy. So if it's a policy, can it be set by the select board or does it need to have the vote of the town to approve that policy under a town meeting governance structure?
You know what? This would be a really good question for the towns that have already gone through the climate leader program.
Okay, so I think the answer is with respect to the EV, we don't know yet, but we should find out more as part of reviewing what their policies are and whether or not they had those approved by the town at a town meeting. So I think for the presentation to the select board, we will identify the components of a climate leaders program, remind them that we recommended last year that the town pursue this status, and have them identify which of these they think should be done first and what timing. And also, I guess, ask them if they think it needs to go to
No.
town meeting.
I think we have to ask the select board, which of these items, in addition to approving the specialized stretch code, which of these items will require a vote at town meeting, an article before town meeting?
Either require or under their preference.
Or desirable, optional, but recommended.
Yep.
As requiring a town meeting vote, just to get the public invested in behind the project. I think that's the first thing. And then you already made the point that we shouldn't ask the select board for the, which comes first or what prior. We should suggest to them what we think the order of events should be.
Okay, but I'm not hearing any definitive recommendations from this committee on that.
I think based on what Debbie just said, and I think she's right, that Hingham took a really long time to market everything, that we probably aren't going to be ready to put a warrant in the spring meeting. So we should probably target the fall meeting to do everything. Right?
Right.
Okay, fall town meeting is usually administrative cleanup. It was
Yeah,
initially
I
created
I would be disappointed if we had to go a whole year essentially without doing anything concrete on this other than trying to socialize it, say. I'm wondering about the climate action plan itself. Making a climate action plan and having it adopted are maybe two steps. So maybe establishing a climate action plan, constructing a climate action plan might be one step, and then socializing it, advertising it, and getting the community to vote to approve it and implement it. That might be the next step at a town meeting with an article.
Hingham did not have the town vote on to approve the actual climate action plan. They got the pre-approval to, number one, have a net zero goal by 2050, and number two, to establish a committee. Climate action committee, planning committee. The commission is charged with implementing it. Climate action planning committee to develop it. So they had those two warrant articles at the same time in advance of moving forward. And as part of that, I think they knew that they'd have money funded from the municipal light plant for that effort.
Okay, so they didn't then come back and present the plan to the town and say, consider this and vote to adopt it at town meeting.
Correct, they did not.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I mean, the plan itself might be too lengthy and difficult for the average voter to spend time trying to digest it. So maybe it doesn't make sense to ask them to approve it.
That was the logic.
So could we ask the select board to, I mean, I guess we couldn't have a warrant article to do a climate action plan if we don't have our funding in place, right?
Going to be subject to?
Can we do it subject, yes, to funding? I mean, to getting the funding and go to town meeting and do it the way Hingham did it? I mean, can't we emulate Hingham and put the warrant articles as they did?
We could, and we have the backing of the climate survey to show that there's a lot of support in the town. And then we just have to hope that what people write in the survey is how they're going to vote at a town meeting.
Town
We could
meeting is
take-
always very liberal.
We could take an assertive approach and position it. If this committee thinks we can get it done successfully, we could try to get a net zero goal and climate action plan subject to funding, with the town contributing, I don't know, something approved. And I guess we would have our committee be in charge of that, or would we have a separate committee established? Hingham had a separate committee established to focus solely on the climate action plan.
Well, what did you find advantages to that approach, Tanya?
They could just focus on that, right? We're a very active committee that has a lot of things happening. And we're very insular. Nobody attends our meetings. I think people do listen in on them, even from outside of Cohasset. But I think it just creates a committee that has a single charge and it sunsets after a year or after the plan is done.
I mean, I think we should, look for a committee. And once again, it'll be really interesting to see if there's anybody who comes to that tea. Ginny is co-sponsoring it with Marissa, which is interesting. But I think there's, there's some people that may want to do it, from, I think we should put out a call and see. And we did have a lot of names of people who wanted to be involved from the survey too. There were
Tanya,
people,
would this committee be larger than this group right here? Could you have like a 20, 25 person committee just to really
Oh. That sounds
Yeah.
like a nightmare.
well,
I
it's sort of
mean-
it's more of a sort of to have a
had
real base of
liaisons from
support.
every relevant committee. So the Hingham committee had liaisons from every relevant committee in the town, plus liaisons from citizen groups, plus representatives from the Hingham Municipal Light Plant.
So that sounds like a pretty big committee.
It's
But
about,
then, didn't you end up actually doing the physical writing of it in the end?
yeah, we were hired as the consultants to do it.
So the money involved in doing this is just to pay in a consultant, right? Or
Yep.
helping with this. And then the committee would just be a place for everybody to air their concerns and their suggestions,
Correct.
with the consultant being there who might incorporate all these ideas or the good ones into the plan. Is that right, basically?
Yep.
So
And-
we're not talking about a major cost here, I think. Does it really require a special article to allocate whatever it is, $100,000, whatever, to for a consultant to develop the plan? Or could this be part of, the annual budget summary that Chris puts together and that the town votes on, is, yay or nay for the entire thing?
The AEC committee members would be on the committee, on the overall committee.
Well, the question is if there's enough other people who are, I don't think all of our members would be. Most certainly we'd have a liaison possibly play a leadership role, or a member of our committee would play a leadership role.
So Tanya, when you wrote the plan, did any of these members contribute material and things to it? I mean, is there a way some of the committee actually contributed things that offset some of the cost?
Yeah, I would say the committee did the lion's share. Remember, this isn't just about writing a paper or writing a report. This is about community buy-in, about the process. It's about socializing. It's about getting feedback, open meetings. So there was a lot of effort done by the members of the committee on that, right? The consultant was there as a technical consultant. We pulled data together. We put together charts, showed them what things look like, talked about costs, where costs were. They decided not to have costs. They initially wanted to have an estimate of what it would cost to achieve net zero. They decided they did not want that because it's going to change by tomorrow. So they didn't want to have dollar signs in there, but they wanted pathways forward. And those pathways forward, just the whole organization of how do you address this? How do you break apart carbon emissions? Where are the carbon emissions? I think we've already done some of that already. And we could get the data from National Grid pretty easily on the gas side and the electric side, which are going to be the two biggest contributors. And then we can get information from the assessor's office on the vehicles, which are going to be the second. And then there are ways to estimate commuting costs and other things if we're doing it on a community level. So, and we're already doing, as was Hingham, we're already doing tracking at the municipal level as part of the Green Communities requirement.
And Deb, what did National Grid say to us in terms of their contribution to a cap? It was significant. Do you remember?
No, my recollection was that they will help us find grant funding, but
Right.
I don't think that
Right.
was their contribution.
They had a woman who we met the year before at the National Grid event, that's what she does. She finds money for municipalities and towns that are
Right.
engaged
Yeah.
in.
Actually, I might have her name.
And the MVP program, remember the MVP program? And I think, Julia, you've been looking into this as well, which is where can we get money for a climate action plan? And I think Ginny had submitted and we should have that material. Ginny had submitted a grant request for the climate action plan, and it was rejected because they wanted us to do an MVP2 program first.
Does anybody know where we got the money to pay for that Woods Hole Research Group study of flooding hazards in Cohasset? That was a major thing. I mean, they did a lot of work. That must have been expensive. I wonder where the money for that came from.
I don't know.
Um,
Okay, so I just want to get us back to, do we think that we could, do we want to make a recommendation? And if so, we'll need to do a vote. Do we want to recommend to the select board that they give us permission to start socializing and sponsoring a warrant article for a net zero goal and moving forward with establishing a committee to develop a climate action plan?
Yes.
Do we have the bandwidth to do that as a committee?
Oh, I'm sure we do.
Well, I mean, as part of our articles that we're writing, that one article can be about the benefit of a climate action plan and soliciting people to contact us.
Right.
So, I think these things can forward some of our efforts as as we mentioned. So
Yeah,
I
and a
think,
summary. You're right, Deb,
Hmm.
for the summary of the survey and what it told us.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why we should do that article sooner than later.
What's the process like for forming a separate committee, even one that's only, kind of like singularly focused and has a shorter lifespan than a
That can-
standing committee like ours?
Yep, that can be established by the select board.
Hmm.
They can establish an advisory committee on their own, and that's effectively what we are. We were established not by vote of the town, but by the select board wanting to have advisors. And there are a lot of advisory committees. I don't know if this committee was initially established. I don't think it was initially established ever by a town meeting vote, but it was initially established with a 1-year horizon and then just kept living because there
No,
was more
it was
debate.
originally established through an article before town meeting.
It was.
Yes,
But it
because
was-
I looked it up once with Chris. We got out the old document and read the founding document for the committee. That's when we discovered that it was supposed to die after a year or two.
Is that what we want to, is that what we need to do, is kind of put forth the suggestion that the select board form a new committee to pursue a climate action plan, and that this committee will be, will provide the leadership or something along those lines? Is that kind of formally the way to approach it?
Well, I think that's what they're going to ask us. What do
Mm.
we recommend?
Yeah.
Is it us? Is it a separate committee? that they
Well, if it were
established?
just us, it could be a subcommittee of us where we ask for liaisons from the relevant other committees in town.
Mm.
So that
Right.
would get around having the select board having to go through the trouble of forming a committee.
Forming its own committee. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Tanya,
We
how
can-
did they do it in Hingham? Was it, because I thought a lot of things came from private groups.
It did. They had a significant amount of citizen groups pushing this, socializing it, marketing it, getting the votes out.
That was the Hingham Net Zero organization, which still does good work.
That's right. That's right.
But does it maximize our chance of success and a smooth? If we, to Steve's point, that we propose that, we have major leadership in the process. I mean, I love the idea of us doing it, and as Steve said, recruit some other members from other committees. Doesn't that make most sense in terms of maximizing achieving our goal?
Yeah, I would agree with that. We want to leverage those other folks and people in the community who want to participate.
That helps us build support.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So these are all questions the select board's going to ask.
But by the way, just as a suggestion for efficiency, do we really have to wait for a formal presentation before town meeting to dump all this on them and ask for their blessing on pursuing climate leaders community with all these elements? And we suggest that, forming a committee and doing this, that, and the other thing, and this, that, and the other order. Can we perhaps offline talk to some town staff, Chris and Michelle, and maybe a couple members of the select board, and find out from their wisdom which elements require a town meeting vote, which might be desirable for a town meeting vote, and which we do not need all the citizens involved, and maybe we can make a little bit faster progress that way. I mean, I can imagine if we tried to bring this up at a normal select board meeting, my God, this would take well over an hour just for ourselves, and they might be a little impatient with us. But if we kind of had a better idea going in what we needed to do.
Right. Right. I think, the most important thing is we say, these are the elements that are needed. This is what we, what we think is the best approach. But we defer to you or something, because I feel like the more that we guide them, I mean, otherwise there are people on there that would just as soon bury all of this.
Yeah, but from a legal point of view, and we have to know, well, we know that it's going to require a town meeting vote for the stretch code. But for the other elements, we don't really know. But it'd be nice to talk to, some elder statesmen in the community and find out.
Don't we have a climate leaders committee that was exploring this? Or was it a climate action survey committee?
It was just climate action survey. There wasn't the climate leaders. No, because it's so multifaceted. I think we were talking about breaking it up.
I know, but doesn't, we had a presentation on this. I mean, this doesn't seem like a complicated question to have answered. I think the developers of the Climate Leaders Program know perfectly well what has to go before a town meeting and what does not. Has to. And then whether or not, from a policy perspective, the select board wants it to is another question, and only they can answer that. But the first question they're going to ask is, well, which of these have to go to a town meeting? Is your understanding? And it'd be nice if we could say, well, the only thing that has to go to town meeting is the specialized stretch code.
Right.
That said,
by state statute, it has to.
Nothing else,
similar to the community aggregation, they had, by state statute, they had to go before town meeting.
I think that the climate leaders requires the town approval for the net zero goal. Pretty sure that.
But what does town mean? Does town mean just the town administration, or does town by town mean that all the citizens have to vote for it?
Citizen vote. That's the net zero and the specialized stretch code have to be approved by the town meeting.
Yes, the specialized stretch code, definitely.
and the net zero commitment is only the municipal net zero, right? The climate action plan addresses more than just the municipal circle.
Right, but the commitment is just for the municipal part of it, which doesn't require all the voters to approve, I don't think. But then the climate action plan is meant to apply to the entire community, residents, commercial concerns, and the municipal.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what? I am just looking online. There is the Climate Leaders Community Certification and Grant Program. And it lays out in real detail about what the process is and basically what is required. I think we'll find the answers to a lot of our questions in this document. It is only 7 pages, so it's not a deal breaker. But it talks about, it's got guidance materials and everything else. So maybe what we need to do, maybe we should, each maybe take a little section and one of the 5 and figure out for that section, do a little more digging in. I don't know if that's sufficient or not, but it's, find out what they say and what's
Well, if it's only 7 pages, then one of us ought to be able to read it and digest it.
Okay,
Yeah,
can somebody take the lead on that? I think we only need one person to be able to answer
I'll do
this.
that. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I'll
put
send
that
you
on
the
my
link.
to-do list.
You want me to
Thank you.
send you the link?
Yeah, send me the link if you would, Debbie.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we don't know about the warrant articles at this point. We'd all like it to appear magically. I don't know if there's a citizens group that could make it appear magically, but we'd love for it to appear magically. There's just a heavy lift at this point in unknown information that I think we need to get our arms around before we know if it's even feasible. I think that said, I think we can again reiterate our recommendation to the select board and suggest that there are certain milestones that could be met that would make it an easier lift to move forward with some of these and lay out a path. I mean, I think we need to paint an easy button for this to move forward. I don't see champions of this sitting on the select board. They're going to want other people to take the lead in moving this forward, with them providing executive yay or nay. Well, Steve, if you could find out exactly what's there, we can still present to the select board on what the Climate Leaders Program requirements are, what our recommendation is, why our recommendations are what it is, and try to get them to discuss what their positions are. And then Julia, if you can again find out, this is another one of those urgent items, find out, does Chris have an appetite for this? Does Michelle have an appetite for this? Do they think it's time, or do they think it still needs to ripen a little bit?
Okay.
Do you
I just
know
don't know
when
what's.
do you have a appointment with the select board? Do you have a time or
Not yet.
not yet? What are you aiming for? February?
Early February.
Okay.
Okay, I'll digest whatever I can, and I'll shortly send you my conclusions, Tanya. You can.
Okay, thank you. All right, so future speakers to the committee. I'm going to pass on this because I want to just quickly get an update on the Community Choice Aggregation Program and then the data report from Chris, who has been very patient. And I apologize, Chris, it's so late. I'm going to put you to the front next week or next month. Steve, any update on the Community Choice Aggregation
No, I don't
Program?
have any update, but I think that we want to start promoting the Penny for a Planet idea. So, which I think will involve writing some articles and encouraging people to opt up to the 100% renewable energy option.
Okay.
Any comment, Debbie?
No, I think that's a good plan.
I just know the Penny for the Planet, it's going to be underwater come. Well, actually, have they already identified what the price is?
Oh, really?
Yeah, the summer is always below. The winter is always higher.
Well, in any event, it's only a penny more than the standard plan. It's irrespective of what National Grid does, but yeah, it makes it less attractive. Makes the whole aggregation program less attractive if we're underwater compared to National Grid.
Well, it's not. I think the National Grid default supply prices, they're going to decrease August. Let's see. Mass.gov does this. I will look it up in a second. Just know it changes, and it's scheduled to change, I thought, by the end of this month. Basic service pricing. Okay, so residential, National Grid default supply rates. They're going to be 14.672 starting in February.
That's no savings.
14.76.
That's our default rate. Because our penny for the planet's 15, right, Steve? So
Yes, the standard is 14.29.
and that's steady for 3 years.
That's for 3 years. The 100% Cohasset Plus, the premium one, is 15.19, and the basic, which you use to compare to National Grid, is 13.87. So even with the, we're still better than them on the standard. What do you say their standard price is going to be? Their basic price is going to be?
14.672.
Okay, so our standard with 10% additional renewables is still cheaper than their base price with a minimum amount of renewable. Even with, even at their summer price. So we're okay.
Okay. All right, good. That's through July. So it's February through July. And then
Okay.
July is probably going to pop up again to reflect the winter prices. But it will depend. Okay. So Steve, do we know how many people are on each program?
I have no information on that.
Okay. Is it possible to get that from Good Energy?
I think so.
Or can we get that from Amanda at National Grid?
Oh, do you
I
mind if I
think-
chime in here?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So I asked Amanda for the information. She directed me to Good Energy. I sent them an email this week. So Courtney Van Huffel is going to get back to me on that.
Oh, that's
Okay.
great.
So
So Julia, if you could continue pursuing that, that'd be awesome.
let's see. You might ask, since you're in communication with Courtney, National Grid, about this. I would be curious to know how many people in Cohasset have third-party contracts with other suppliers, because those are potential converts to the aggregation program. And at some point, the DPU changed the rules so that the aggregators are allowed to send out letters to contact the people with third-party contracts. So, but they have to get the names and addresses of those people from the utility, National Grid, which is the hang-up. So I would like to know if there's been any progress on that. I don't know if you want to bring that up. I hate to bother them again. about the
Okay,
same
let's
question.
just, Julia's on this. So let's first get the data. And then
Yeah.
Amanda at National Grid has information on what portion of people are on each of the programs as well. Whether or not they'll provide it to us is a different story.
Yeah, so it's not something that Good Energy can give you, all the details. National Grid is only one of the two parties that can tell you how many people are on third-party contracts, and that's really interesting to know, I think.
Okay. All right, but Julia, let's start with trying to get what portion of people are on each of the three programs under the community aggregation program. Okay, fabulous. It's nice to know the next price at National Grid is higher than our price. That's very good. Okay, future data report, Chris.
Okay, am I sharing?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the solar field we're at the end of the year, so you can sort of see that in year-to-date 2024, we generated 350,000 or so kilowatt hours. And if you look at that compared to 23 and the previous years, it's way down, which I believe is reflective of the inverter problem. Is that right, Tanya?
Well, it's, would you say it's way down for December or
No,
for
for
the
the
year to
year.
date?
Yeah,
Oh, for the year.
350,000 versus 455, 554. And
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the lower quantity and the lower price.
well, this is the production.
Oh, sorry, the production. Yeah.
Yeah. Production is way down. It's down by 30%.
Are
And
the
then,
panels degrading?
well, in the email the transmittal email that when we received this, forgot his name, talked about the inverters. They're working on the inverter issue. And so I inferred from that that is sort of the cause for this major decline relative to the previous 6 years.
So
I
is
think that's-
the new inverter installed yet in place?
I don't think so. I mean, the email that he sent implied that it's not.
But it's interesting, there's a steady decline starting from, when they were 2018. It's been a steady decline. So I wonder if there's a degradation of the panels themselves or
The
something.
answer is yes, and their guarantees reflect that. So the contract has a minimum guarantee production each year. It'd be interesting to see if they've met that obligation for the year.
Yeah,
But
it's usually like 0.5% per year, right, Tanya?
yeah, this is very high.
Yeah, this looks like more than that. When you look at that.
I don't think the inverters have been implemented, and I think that when we talked, Chris, remember when we talked to Palmer Capital, they said they were going to out of pocket make the
Right.
investment.
Yeah.
Mm. I mean, if you look at the difference between June and August, that's where it doesn't make sense. 42,000 versus 29.4. There's no
Yep.
reason the production would be that low in August if it's the 42,000 in June. That must have been when the inverter was going funny. September should be a pretty good production month too.
But the
So-
decline up for the last, I don't know, 7 years or whatever, that's a pretty big decline year to year.
Yeah, there's something, I think it's the inverter issue. I think I mean, the degradation wouldn't be that much. But the good news is that we have a lower right-hand corner, we're within a few months of hitting $500,000 to benefit to the town.
You know
Okay.
what? This doesn't. Are they missing? Is there's? I mean, for the 10 months where we have more than 25,000, right? Oh, I guess. I don't know. That seems so low. Okay, that's disappointing.
You know,
But the good news is our savings are on par with where we initially anticipated they would be.
okay, so here's the dashboard. And just a couple highlights. We can't look at January because of course we're not done. So you look at December. The unique drivers is relatively constant to the last few months, a little down. Number of sessions is maintaining. And Julia did sort of arrange for us to get a little more insight onto the dashboard. And Julia, I haven't taken advantage of those credentials yet or my new powers. So hopefully at our next meeting, I'll be able to explain a little bit more about what's going on the lower left-hand side in the financials.
So it looks like we're taking in more revenue from the chargers. even though that the number of sessions or drivers haven't increased. Because it
Yes,
means longer sessions.
yeah, so that's, yeah. All right, any more comments on this one? Energy, you look, Steve, to your point, the energy, total energy is up to a high over the last 6 months.
I
Okay,
think we're making a lot of money on the penalty charges as well.
Are they?
I think that they're pretty steep. If somebody spends the night plugged in, it's like $80.
Really?
Oh my God, that really pissed off somebody.
Wow.
Yeah, there's an idling charge, and then there's a you're limited to 4 hours, and then penalties start to kick in. So you can only charge for 4 hours before you start paying a premium price. And then if you're there not charging because you're full, you start, I think it's $5 an hour. Which is good. We asked for those incentives and they've implemented them.
Well, Tesla charges several dollars a minute. So idle.
Okay, so the unique drivers are holding steady. The number of sessions are
relatively steady. up a bit.
relatively steady, but robust. I'd call it robust. The station usage light, so there's still room for more. And the average session length of 5.5 hours is making us money on the premium uptick. Cool.
All right, there we go.
And that's $10,000 a month. What are we making each month?
At the fee, I mean, fees looks like it's $1,000, around $1,000,
Oh, $1,000.
$1,200.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is what I don't understand, and where Julie gave us or was able to get us some more insight. So I have to look into this and explain this a bit more to explain that a bit more.
I'm a little bit confused. The financials there, is that showing what we pay ChargePoint, or is that Cohasset's electricity?
That's what I need. That's where I need to. I don't know, and that's the charge to find out.
Yeah, I still have to explore the dashboard with the new permissions as well, but I think that bottom left financials graph you were looking at, those I think are the monthly remittance. So the documents that the committee receives monthly, which reports out on the
Remittance, you mean the invoices from ChargePoint?
Yes.
Because the electricity should come off of the tremendous discount that Cohasset gets. Like, what is it? 7 cents a kilowatt hour, or what is our contract price? Whatever it's.
Why don't you
Are you talking about our solar price?
Yeah, I mean the financials there. I'm confused here. So who pays the electricity?
So
Yeah.
why don't you it's late, Steve. Why don't you let Julie and I look into this and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
We don't know the answers tonight.
the town pays the electricity. And the town's price, I think is, I don't know if it's changed, but we should find out what that is, Julia. We always want to know what that is and we never get an answer, and it shouldn't be hard to find out what the town's contract price is because the town has a competitive supplier, I believe. And the solar energy array is only 10% of the town's total usage. So that's
And
not a
that's
good price.
7.9 cents, I think.
It's 8.8. And it's
Oh,
not a
8.8,
good.
I'm sorry.
Yep, that was on the prior chart that Chris showed. And
Okay.
it's not, it's only 10% of the town's electricity consumption.
Yeah.
But we're working on that. We're working on that. One thing we didn't discuss with respect to the warrant articles is I think it's premature to ask the town to lease the school roofs until the school roofs are moving forward with replacement. And that should be by next year. I think. But that said, we don't have to wait for the school roofs to be done before we ask for the town's permission to lease them. But again, that's something that Tom Daly is focused on, which is being the liaison for the schools and the school facilities committee to understand what's happening with respect to the school roofs. Okay, any matters not previously known? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Norm.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. We have a motion and a second, no discussion, no need for a roll call vote. A motion to adjourn with a second. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to have a fun 2025.
Thank you. Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
Julia.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.